On this week's live stream, it's a block party. Chromeworks rolls out its newest game release. Plus, our music video project has a catchy new soundtrack. And we have a slew of new mini tutorials. Draw realistic flames.
Really cool
Learn to code cool fireworks. Draw an anime character. And learn video editing. Wow, that's a lot of learning. All this and more coming right up on the Chromeworks live stream. Good morning, world. It's Mr. Tomac back again with a really great live stream this week. I'm so excited by all the content we have here. My co-op students have been working overtime and they've created some fantastic content. We've been really finessing things in the last couple of weeks. I've been working closely. I've kind of taken time off of my regular duties and I've just been working with these co-op students to make and remake and tweak and edit these videos, and I think they're making some really fantastic work now. So super proud of all of them, and we're going to show you a bunch of their tutorials today. Firstly though, I want to show you our newest game release, which I'm super excited about. Here it is right now. This is Tetris, Chromeworks Tetris. You can see I used the Russian language Cyrillic version of the title here as well. So this is a project by co-op student Quang Lac, who is from Vietnam, and he's been just doing fantastic work for us. He's been in coding and animation. It turns out he has art skills and coding skills as well. And this project is the result of maybe 3 or 4 weeks of work by Wang, and he's just done a fantastic job. It's a very faithful reproduction of the original Tetris game. Let me show you really quickly right now. So we've got the original game screen here, and when we click on it, you can see we got pieces falling down. We can spin them around and lock them into place. And the object, for those of you who haven't played Tetris, is to fill up an entire row along the bottom, and then that row will disappear. But of course, the shapes of your objects don't let you do that all the time, and so it's a little tricky sometimes. As the game progresses, these blocks fall faster and faster, and it becomes more and more difficult to keep going. There we go. Until finally you end up having your whole screen filled up with blocks, and then it's game over. So super cool adaptation of that. I think that Wang did a fantastic job on that. Let's have a look and see who's with us in the studio this morning. So welcome to CGI Crew. He says this is his first time ever watching the live stream. Hi, CGI Crew. I'm very happy to give you a shout out. If you want to tell us just a teeny bit about who you are, like what state or country you come from, and maybe how old you are. We don't want to hear a lot of personal information about you, but we always like to know who's on the show. So if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, then that's great. CGI is very excited to get a shout out on my show. So welcome, CGI. And we're joined also by Deck the Decoder. I don't know if he's lurking somewhere. He's not in the Discord studio with me this morning, but Deck from London is somewhere around there. And as always, top secret Asian, Andy is with me, my co-op student who's helping me to moderate the YouTube chat. CGI Crew, he says his name is Ajan, and he started learning Scratch in school. Just tell us roughly what geographical area you're from, Ajan. I'd really love to know kind of where our viewers are coming from. Anyway, I'm going to continue while we wait for Ajan to answer here. So this Tetris project has been really a challenge, and the big problem with it has been you've got sprites in Scratch. Let me get back to my teaching screen here. We've got sprites in Scratch that are made up of 4 of these little blocks, but we need to delete only half of them at a time. And when we fill up an entire row, let's say the bottom row of our screen, we're going to want to delete these guys, but these guys we don't want to delete, and we want them to fall down. So there's no way in Scratch to tear a tile apart and break it into pieces. So what we ended up doing was something really clever and really cool, and I wanted to kind of do a little mini lesson on that this week. So I'm going to show you guys a project that kind of takes you a little bit under the hood of this of our Tetris project and explains this process that we use to kind of break apart these sprites. Okay, I have a reply from CGI Gray here. He's from Australia. Wow. And he's in year 5, which is like grade 5. That means you're about 10 or 11 years old, I guess, I would imagine, unless that's year 5 of high school. I could be wrong, of course. Anyway, welcome. It must be very late in Australia, so thank you for joining us, Ajan. That's fantastic that you're here. So I've just posted a link into the YouTube chat for this project here called Tile Placement and Scanning. It's simply a stripped down version of my Tetris game that shows you the process that's going on here. So let me start it off here. What I'm basically doing is placing tiles. I can move these tiles around with my mouse, with my arrow keys, and then hit space to place one of these tiles down. So it's not the real Tetris game, it's just a simulation here. I can change costumes by clicking the up arrow key, and I'm just going to place a bunch of these guys here. So let's hit space again, and let's do one of these green guys here. It doesn't have to be in a perfect pattern. Okay, let's place that there, and let's do one more of these guys, and we'll place it right here. So what's happening in this game is I'm going to hit the scan button in a second, and this is going to simulate what's happening in the code here. He has to go, sorry, he'll watch this tomorrow. Okay, well, thank you for joining us, CGI crew. It's always lovely to have a new viewer on the stream. Yeah, it must be late there. It's probably bedtime for you, mister. Okay, so let me show you the actual code that's involved here. There's a block called tile here. And so what this is actually doing is there's a little black tile here, just a tiny little black tile, about 20 pixels in width, and it has costumes in all the different colors. And what this code is doing here is the black tile starts at the bottom right of the screen and looks at what's underneath me. Is it purple? Nope. Is it yellow? Nope. And if it doesn't find anything, it'll use the stamp tool to place a black tile underneath here, and then it'll keep doing that. And when it finds a color, instead of placing a black tile with the stamp tool, it'll place a colored tile with the stamp tool. And so let me demo how this works here. As soon as I hit the scan button here, you'll see it'll start scanning the screen, starting here and going across row by row by row, looking for the colors underneath it. Here we go. So you see it's drawing black. Now it found orange. It's going to stamp orange. Now it found black, and then orange, yellow, yellow. And now it's detecting a bunch of blue, right? And every time it does that, it basically stamps underneath the color. Now this process, once we get it going into a custom block, it is going to be much, much faster. It'll happen in a fraction of a second, but this is kind of a slow down look at what's happening in the code here. And this is how we create the screen. Now when I hit the D key, what that does is it deletes all the clones in the project, and we're left with nothing but the actual tiles that have been stamped down here. Now it doesn't look that good right now because we have the wrong colored backdrop, but if I draw a new backdrop here and fill it up with black, whoops, let's get to bitmap mode so we can fill that up. Whoa, I have the wrong kind of fill here. That's no good. Now, of course, this isn't going to work. Let's try that one more time. Bitmap and fill with black. There you go. And you can see that we very nicely reconstructed this screen here just using the stamp tool. A very cool technique. And so I'm going to be releasing part 1 of this of the full tutorial for this game at 11 o'clock this morning in about 50 minutes. And that will explain this whole scanning process and get you going with the first steps of this project, not the real Tetris project, not this sample project. And next week I'm going to show you how to use that same process to delete individual rows and move everything down the screen here. It's a very, very clever technique that Wang has innovated here, and very excited. So a good night from CGI crew, and yeah, have a good sleep, and hopefully you'll be back to watch the rest of the stream later. All right, so this demo project I just created as kind of a quick illustration of what's going on in the code there. But if you want the full details, please watch my tutorial coming out at 11 o'clock. All right, so I have some very exciting news on the AMV front. You guys will remember Freakazoid, my post-apocalyptic, action-oriented, scary, fun AMV project. That means an animated music video. We're making a very fun disco-themed music video with dancing robots. Now, this features the winner of our 2022 Robot Idol contest, TankBot, and a whole bunch of other robots that have been drawn by Chromeworks students. And we've put them all into this story about an AI apocalypse. Basically, robots take over the world, like Terminator or whatever, but instead of running around killing people, they have a gigantic dance party, and it's kind of ridiculous, and that's the whole point of the exercise. So we every time we play the theme song we picked for this was a song called Freakazoid. It's a 1983 hit disco song by a band called Midnight Star, and I've played it for you a few times on previous streams, and every time that this happens we get a copyright hit. The Midnight Star is very protective of their song, and so we're not able to use it in our actual project, and that left us with a bit of a dilemma. And fortunately, one of our members, MusicManJoe, has an amazing talent for producing music. And I set him loose about a month or so ago. It's taken him a long time, but he has come up with a beautiful rendition of the song by Midnight Star, Freakazoid. Now, we're going to be changing the lyrics around. The version he gave us is intentionally kind of stripped down a little bit. There's some choral voices, like a female voice part that comes in and out, that we're going to be getting some of our members to sing for us. So this is just the backing track that we're going to use on top of the actual singing that's happening here. So, but for the first time ever, I want to show you guys the cover version of Freakazoid that MusicManJoe has come up with. We are super proud of him for this project. He has done amazing work, and I'm so excited to show this to you guys. So I'm not going to play the whole thing. You're going to have to wait till the music video comes out, but I'm going to play you just a little bit to give you a sense of just what an accurate reproduction this is of the original song, in case any of you guys have heard it. But in any event, it's a really lovely, catchy track. So here, without further ado, is Freakdroid by MusicManJoe.
Freakazoid, robots, please report to the dance floor. C-O-I-D-S, Freakazoid, C-O-I-D-S, C-O-I-D-S.
So in the background, we're going to have some female voices going, I'll be your freakazoid, come on and wind me up.
Dance.
And you can see the robot voice is singing a lot of the rest of it. So there's going to be robots dancing and singing across a whole bunch of post-apocalyptic backgrounds while this is happening. Very, very excited about this song. This is just a beautiful cover song. And let's see if the copyright police catch me this time. I don't think they will, because this is an actual original track. So really excited about that. Well, I'm not going to play any more of that for you. You're going to have to wait for a release. So things are going very, very quickly now with our AMV project. I think another 2 or 3 weeks and we'll be ready to release it. My co-op students are working on backgrounds and stuff like that right now. And the next challenge that I had putting this together is that this is a project where we're going to have an apocalypse at the beginning, kind of an end of the world scenario, and we can't do an end of the world scenario without flames and fire and stuff like that. I went looking around through the Scratch website looking for some really cool fire that I could steal, that I could borrow for this music project, but I did not find anything good. So I went ahead and made my own. So I want to show you guys this really cool fire generator project that I put together here. I'm going to copy the link for you guys right now in the chat. If anyone else is lurking in the chat, by the way, please do say hello and you'll get a shout out on the stream. So yeah, this is my fire generator project, and let me give you a quick look at it right now. You can. So look at this, beautiful looking flames. The smoke, of course, is part of another tutorial that I did a few weeks ago, how to do realistic smoke in Scratch. So this is all just a clone of one single sprite. I am going to do, I have another full tutorial project. I was going to run it right now, but I think we're going to be short of time with all the content we have. It's about a 15-minute tutorial that explains how I made this. I am going to release that at 11 o'clock, and you can watch the whole thing there. But for now, I just wanted to give you guys a quick overview of what I did to make this project. So the costumes are just one little object like this that I've drawn. I basically drew it starting with a circle and then went to my reshape tool, added a few additional points to it. And what I did to this top point here is I clicked on this little button here to turn into a pointy end, just like that. And from there, it was just a matter of reshaping the end parts, maybe adding a few new points. And now suddenly we have a fairly realistic looking wisp of flame that I can twist in any direction, shrink, and do different stuff to. So I colored this wisp of flame in with a gradient going from orange to red, and then painted a whole bunch of them, getting smaller and then getting bigger again. And we're just flipping through these costumes and then cloning the heck out of these guys. I've created a custom block here. You can see that creates different kinds of flames here. Let me start the project off here, and so let me show you. I can change the width here from 50 to 100, for example. And let me just separate this so that I can just immediately do this. Yeah, and so you can see here's a different width on my fire. I can make it taller. Let's go up to 75. Let's go up to 100. I don't think that was obvious enough. There we go. And so we have a taller fire. I can go much higher than that. Let's go at 200 just to really show you. Oh, that's the width. Okay, let's make the height up to 200 here just to show you how we can reconfigure this. I think I have to restart the program for it to work properly. What is going on here? Okay, there we go. So there's the height of my fire. You can see that there's not enough clones here, so I can change the number of clones here by changing the flame count in the program. The maximum, of course, that you're allowed to do is 300, but because we've got the smoke that's already using clones, we don't have much more than maybe another 40 more clones we can use. So I'll go to 140 here, and you can see that when I create my fire, it'll be a little more populated with flames here. So you definitely don't want to do huge fires like I'm showing you right now because you're going to run out of clones. The idea is, oh, there we go. And the idea is that we want to basically have these crunched together tightly. Enough clones to make the size of fire that you need. So if I'm going with a small fire, for example, let's go 40 by 30. We can do a much smaller flame count like 50. And you can see, whoa, this height is all wrong. Hey, let's try that one more time. I'm going to there we go. So there's our nice little fire. You can change the size of the tongues of flame too using this last bit of the customized block here. So I can change it to 100, for example, and we get big wisps of flame. Or I can go down to 10 and get a tiny little fire. Now we have to restart it sometimes to get this working properly. So this is, oh, my tiny fire is so small here that we can't even see it. There it is. So there's my tiny little fire. And yeah, so a lot of cool stuff that we can do with this. Welcome to Bilal Gaming, who's just joined us. if you don't mind, Bilal, tell us a little bit about who you are and where you're from. We don't need to know anything personal or anything, but if you can tell us what country you come from and maybe what grade you're in or how old you are, that would be fantastic. I promise I won't send a combat drone to strike your house if you tell us what country you're in. I don't quite have enough information to do that. Okay, guys. So yeah, Bilal says he likes my stream, and that is fantastic. I like my stream too, so I'm very happy to show that to you guys. So once more, I'm not going to go into all the details here, but this full tutorial is being released at 11 o'clock on the Chromeworks Technology YouTube channel, and you can look forward to seeing that in a little bit. All right, as I said, I have a ton of great content here from my co-op students, including a brand new series that we're rolling out today. And it is a video editing tutorial. So I have been looking everywhere for a decent video editor that I can recommend to my students. The problem with most of them is that they're not free. Kids your age do not have $300 or $400 to spend on a professional video editor program. Then there's free programs out there, and they are mostly super lame. They have very few features, and they can't do a lot of the cool stuff that we want to teach you guys how to do here. So we have found a fantastic video editor. I was only made aware of this a little while ago by our former co-op student Cam, who's a professional video editor. He's been trying to sell me on this program called DaVinci Resolve. And man, is it powerful. It's so powerful that it's being used by some of the biggest names in Hollywood for movie production, and yet it's totally free. The version that you can download for free that runs for Mac, Windows, Linux, all the computers basically, it's totally free. It has a few little limitations to it, but only for stuff that you guys would never use, like 8K video and stuff. All the normal stuff you're going to need to do professional grade videos is all there. Now, it's a complicated program. There's lots of bits and pieces, but after playing around for it a little bit, I don't think it's inaccessible to kids who are 10, 12 years old if you follow these tutorials closely and don't get too ambitious, right? We're going to start off very simple. How do you import videos? How do you make them longer, shorter, trim them, do that kind of stuff? And then we're going to start adding features to it as we go along here. So my man Faraz, who's one of my co-op students, Faraz has done a fantastic job with this first tutorial. And every week for the next few weeks, he's going to be teaching you how to do a little bit more in DaVinci Resolve. So without further ado, I am going to show you this video tutorial. And we're calling this new tutorial series DaVinci Decode. So let's put that on right now.
Video editors, free ones specifically, are usually just terrible with watermarks and lack of features and just overall just garbage. But this one is different. This one is so good, they use it on Marvel movies and Star Wars movies too. It's called DaVinci Resolve, and ever since its release in 2004, this revolutionary video editing software has steadily been winning fans among some of Hollywood's biggest film studios. And believe it or not, it's completely free. It may look a little intimidating with all these settings and buttons and stuff, but over the next few weeks I'll teach you how to get into it. It's pretty simple actually. Now, let's get started with how to get it installed. This is the only slightly confusing part of the installation process. You don't have to answer truthfully on this little questionnaire, but you do have to do it. Put whatever you want here, put a fake name, and just press download, and you should be ready to go. Now let's just move forward to the adding media segment of this tutorial. And here we are. If you want to bring media into DaVinci Resolve, it's super easy, barely inconvenience. All you have to do is find the files you want to bring in, and then just drag them into your media pool. Like so. If while you're importing media you get a warning that says the media is not compatible with your project's current frame rate, don't worry. Just press don't change. If you change it, there's issues to come. So just don't change, put it in, everything will work fine. It's all good. Once they're in your media pool, just drag them onto the timeline. Once they're in the timeline, Feel free to edit them however you please. This can include splitting, deleting, copying, pasting, changing the speed, all of which can be accessed by right-clicking the clip and then selecting the option you want. Or, in the case of copy and pasting, Control-Z, Control-V works like everything else. Splitting works on music, as well as video, and images. Just edit to your heart's content. And then when you're done with your masterpiece, just hit play, and watch your creation go forth. And that's how you import files in DaVinci Resolve. Hope you learned something today. Now, I'll see you in the outro. Bye. Thanks for watching episode 1 of DaVinci Decode. In this episode we discussed something pretty simple, but in the future ones we'll discuss more interesting and complicated things. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and hope you enjoy future ones too.
Well, thanks for that great report for us. So, yeah, DaVinci Resolve 18. I am super excited to be teaching you guys how to use this software. As I said, it's fairly complicated stuff, but the idea is you only need to learn one or two things. Spanish is a complicated language, but I can teach even a 5-year-old how to speak a few words. And so the idea is that we're just going to learn a few little techniques every couple of weeks to use this fantastic software. And pretty soon you're going to be making simple movies and this stuff. And there's so much room to grow from there. Most of the consumer level projects that you can do, the consumer level video editors that you can use, they're fine for doing a few things, and you can learn a few things about video editing, but you're going to have to drop them at some point because they won't be able to do everything you want to do as you get better and better at this craft. DaVinci Resolve, this is something you can start to learn right now at a young age and keep learning over the course of many years. And eventually you'll get super good at this stuff, and you'll be able to even turn this into a career if you're interested. Cam, our professional video editor who was a co-op student last week, is already doing projects for companies like HBO, and he's making a career for himself in video editing. So there's certainly room for you guys to do that. But you got to get started somewhere, and so let's put on our big boy pants and start using real software to do this stuff. All right, let's move along here, guys. What's up next here? Okay, I wanted to do a shout out, and let's go ahead and... So every week I like to show off a different project by somebody on Scratch who has reached out to me on my homepage at Mr. Tomek. This week I had a really weird request by someone named Supercoder613. He said, "Hello again, can I show you a really weird project I found on this platform?" Now usually people are trying to get me to look at their projects, but in this case Supercoder613 wanted me to have a look at somebody else's project. It's from Japan, and I'm going to show it to you in a second here. So our shout out this week goes to Supercoder613. So this is a project he wanted to show me, and I ran it through a translator. It's called Yakitori, which is basically a Japanese name for grilled chicken. And so in this weird story, Scratch Cat is heading home for the day and has brought a bag of takeout yakitori with him, and he's so excited about it. This project is just weird and strange and surreal in a way that I can't even begin to describe. So thanks to Supercoder613 for showing us this project, and let me run it for you right now. All right, I think that's all there is to it. Very bizarre project, I agree. Thank you very much to Supercoder613, who's from the United States. I'm not sure if you're lurking out there. He was chatting with me on YouTube a few minutes earlier. Do say hi in the chat if you're around, Supercoder. So thank you for that recommendation. If you see something weird on this or interesting on the Scratch website that you'd like to share with me, please do drop me a message. I'm Mr. Tomek on the Scratch website, and you can I usually respond to messages that you send me there, so by all means say hi. While we're looking at Supercoder 613's profile, let me show you some of his work. He loves Friday Night Funkin', has done a whole bunch of projects related to Friday Night Funkin'. This is just a typical one. I pulled this one out at random, and it's like an animated character who you can pose. He does like an idle move, and then you can make him do various poses by moving your arrow keys along. And Supercoder has a whole bunch of these projects out there. I think he's made probably about 20 or more of these Friday Night Funkin' projects. So thanks a lot for sharing, Supercoder. Really excited to chat with you this week. All right, we're coming back next with another regular feature that we run, which is called Animation School, where we teach kids how to do animation in Scratch. And my co-op student Hifad has been working on these, and this week we're teaching you how to do animated fireworks in Scratch. So let's get right to that.
Today we're going to learn how to use cloning and the ghost effect to create this really cool fireworks animation in Scratch. So then start sound fireworks sound effects. This is for the fireworks sound effects, so it's going to actually make a fireworks sound effect, but it's gonna stop. So we actually don't want this to stop, we want it to just go away. So we'll just go on hide, and now
And now I have another audio problem. Okay, here we go, guys. So sorry about that. I had an audio issue, and I'm still getting used to my new audio setup here. I have to flip something on and flip something else off every time that I start playing a video, and I think I hit the wrong button. So I apologize for that. Sorry especially to Hifad for ruining his video. Let me show that to you one more time, guys.
today we're going to learn how to use cloning and the ghost effect to create this really cool fireworks animation in Scratch. So for starters, we're going to need a rocket to launch your fireworks. I made the body of my rocket out of a simple red box and then built a nose cone by drawing a second red box and deleting one of the corners to turn it into a triangle. Then I used the reshape tool to make these pointy flame shapes and animated them by duplicating my rocket a few times and making the flames a little different in each frame.
So we're going to make the explosion part of the graphic by drawing a little radial gradient here and cloning it. The inside color is going to be green, the outside color is going to be transparent. We want to go to our outline as well and make that transparent. Now, just zoom in really close to your image and draw a little circle just like that. And we're good to go.
So for our rocket code, we have two chunks of code. First chunk is about on how to make the rocket glide. Second chunk is the animation of the rocket, and more specifically, it's the flame animations. Now for the first chunk, we'll actually take this out and wait until mouse down actually detects where our mouse cursor is on the preview window. Go to mouse X, Y, negative 180 degrees. This is actually going to show. So if you click here, we can see the rocket is aiming right at our cursor. Now we actually want this to glide, so we'll get this block right here, glide 0.5 to mouse X, Y, mouse Y. So mouse X, mouse Y is gonna find where our cursor is anywhere on here and it will glide. So then start sound fireworks sound effect. This is for the fireworks sound effect, so it's going to actually make a fireworks sound effect, but it's gonna stop. So we actually don't want this to stop, we want it to just go away. So we'll just go on hide, and now so when the final product is gonna look like this. Broadcast boom, we'll discuss this later in the video. This is for the actual fireworks code. And this forever next costume is for our flame animation. It's basically going to switch between these three costumes to basically make a animation effect when the rocket is actually gliding. And that's basically the code for our rocket.
Okay, now that we've created the little dot that our fireworks is going to be made of, let's do the code that's going to bring it all to life. So when the program starts, you can see here, we're repeating at a loop of 300, creating clones of myself, basically. So that's going to create 300 copies of this little green dot, and they're going to sit there basically stacked up in one spot of the screen, invisible, and they're not going to do anything until you click on the screen. When the message is received by the fireworks here, the first thing all those clones are gonna do is gonna go right to the spot of where the rocket explodes, and they're gonna show. Let's have a look here. So it looks like here one single green dot here is showing up because we've got 300 dots all stacked up on top of each other. Okay, let's get these dots moving. So we're gonna use this point in direction block here, which is going to tell the dots in which direction to steer in. If you put a pick random block here from 0 to 360, that's basically gonna tell them to go in any direction in the circle from 0 all the way to 360. Okay, so now that they're all pointing in this direction, we're gonna use the repeat loop here where we're repeating 50 times and moving 10 steps. And let's see what that looks like. So you can see that they all start moving out in a circle, and they're moving from the middle spot where they're created in random directions, and there's so many of them that it basically looks like a circle. So these guys are all moving at the same speed right now, 10 steps, and that's why it's making this perfect ring of these guys spread out. To make it look more like a fireworks, we have to randomize the speed a little bit. To do that, we're going to use this variable called speed, and we're going to initialize it right before we start moving here. We're going to set it so that each of these clones picks a random speed, something between 0.5 and 3. And so now when we actually come to move here, instead of moving at a certain number of steps, we're going to move at whatever that variable is, and we can see here that now we have this fireworks type of effect. So that is the first half of these fireworks movements. For the second half, you want to continue moving speed steps and in another loop of 50. So this is after we finish the first part of the movement. We're going to move on to the second part of the movement here, and this time we're going to slow down. Fireworks actually get caught up by the friction in the air and they start to slow down, and so we're going to simulate that by changing the speed variable. So every time these guys go around this loop, we're gonna multiply our speed by 0.9, and that's basically gonna make it 90% of the speed than it was in the frame before. And by the time we get around this loop, we'll be at a complete stop. And you can see at the end they start to slow down and finally come to a complete stop. So while they're slowing down, we also want them to fade away. We're gonna do that with the ghost effect. So we're going to set our ghost effect to 0, and we're gonna put it at the beginning of this program, and that 0 means no transparency with this sprite. And so ghost effect is gonna basically make that fade out. So while we're slowing it down here, every time we go around, we're gonna change our ghost effect by a random variable from 1 to 3. So just a little bit at a time, and that's just gonna slowly fade away as we go through here. Let's have a look at this. And you can see that as they slow down, they slowly start to fade away. So the last step is to add some color to these fireworks. We're gonna use this block called change color effect. To show you how that works, I'm going to show my sprite and increase the size to 1000. And so each time I click on this, you can see that the color changes of the fireworks. So depending on how much you change the color effect, you end up with a different color. If you put a random number here, so -100 to 100, pick random, when we'll drop that into the beginning of the program here before we get into the movement, what's gonna happen is each of these clones is gonna receive this message, and it's gonna pick a different color for itself. And so what we end up with is a beautiful multicolor set of fireworks, and each one of them has a slightly different shade in color. You can see we have our fireworks, and they'll fade out just like that. Today we're going to learn how to use cloning.
Well, thank you very much for that report. That was fantastic. I really thought that was Hifad's best tutorial video yet. Really, really impressive stuff. So we're joined in the Chromeworks studio by Grayson, who I haven't heard from in a long time. Hi, Grayson.
Hello.
What have you been up to lately, Grayson?
Just mainly doing some scratch stuff.
Mm-hmm. Like what? What kind of stuff? More Friday Night Funk and stuff, or?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
Been finishing some stuff up with it.
Okay. Well, nice to see you in the studio again. It's been pretty quiet over on Discord the last couple of weeks, so it's always nice to have some people drop by and visit.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks, buddy. Let's move on here. So Cal, my co-op student, who is our resident artist, has been doing some really great drawing tutorials. And this week I challenged her to draw a anime head. So we were looking at a few anime tutorials, and she really dug her teeth into this project and has done a fantastic little tutorial. It turned out quite long, so we've broken it into 2 parts, but here is part 1 of Cal's Draw It tutorial right now.
Hey guys, today we're making an anime head, so let's go! Starting off simple, we're just going to use our control points to give it somewhat of a human shape, and we're going to be using our pointed tip to define the chin. Now using a color darker than our chosen skin tone, we're going to make the neck by shaping a circle. I just played with it until I was happy with it, and I put it at the back of my design by using the backwards tool. We're now going to be using the transparency and radial tool to highlight the face by using a lighter color than the chosen skin color. And I just played with it until I got almost an umbrella shape. You can make it however you want. I like the shape in the end, so I kept it at this. After playing with it and getting it how I liked, I then started to work on the nose, which was the same way, but I just made it more of a nose shape, so tapered bridge and then wider bottom part where your nostrils will be. Moving on from the nose, we're going to make the highlight that goes on the chin just to give it a little more depth instead of just it being a flat shape. And then we're going to work on the cheeks, which is just 2 circles that are pushed and pulled until I like how it looked. And there we've fully shaded the face, and now we're just going to add a shadow underneath the chin to give the neck a little more depth. After finishing all the highlighting and shading, we're now going to move on to doing the defining features. We're going to start with the nose. It was just a full circle, and then I just pushed and pulled until I got a nose shape. You can do different noses. You can do just a dot. You can do a line. I decided to go for more cartoon nose shape with one nostril. And I just played with it until I liked how it looked and how big and small it was. And I just kind of edited the highlight to bring it down a little bit so it would look more natural and more anime-esque. Moving on to the eyes, there's many different ways you can do them. Since I was creating a feminine character, I wanted to create feminine eyes, so I made them very big and very wide. I had trouble figuring out what I wanted to do for the lower lash area, so I just played with it, and even now I don't really like it, and you'll see why because I changed it. But since I was making a feminine character, I wanted to give it some lashes. So I kind of gave some lashes up on top and just widened it so it'd be bigger. And then I tried my best at making lashes on the bottom, and they didn't really look the greatest, so I kind of changed them and just played around until I liked it for a while, but I changed it, you'll see later in the video. And using the push and pull, I really struggled. Moving on from me struggling, I did the whites of the eyes and I just put it behind the lashes and I added a gray gradient. Then I started to shape the eye white to match the lashes, and I had a hard time because the way it was created, it looked really weird, and I wanted to make it harder for me, so I didn't give myself any more vector points to do anything, so I struggled a little bit. After getting the eye how I liked it, we're going to move in closer and we're going to work on the iris. My character is going to have red hair, so I want to do for like an amber iris. So there's a circle, shape it down, and you can see I changed my mind and removed the lower lashes. I add them back later but differently. Now I'm just adding some shading in the lashes to give them more dimension. Then I went to work on the eye again. I played around with it a lot until I got to how I liked. Now moving on to the actual part of the eye that needs detail, we're going to start making the highlights. It's just a lighter shade than the actual eye color, and I just made it somewhat go flush with the whole shape of the eye at the bottom, just a stylized preference. Moving on from iris highlights, we're going to work on the pupil, and I chose the same dark color I used in the lashes. And then once that's done, I'm going to start adding highlights in the eyes again, just to give more luminance in the eye. I chose a darker color for the shine in the pupil so it wouldn't be so pronounced. And now we're going to work on the eye shines, and I put a transparency layer on top, which I then moved with the paintbrush tool to give it a little better look instead of being so like bright halo looking. I just did that for both eye shines. Moving past the shading of the eye shine, I wanted to give my drawing a little something something, so I did the very cartoonish eye shine, you know, the pointy ones that you see in cartoons and stuff like that, and I made two of them, one larger and one smaller, and just put them in the eyes to give my eyes a little bit of something something. Now I'm adding back the lower lashes that I took away, and I just tried something new. I made them more thinner, and I only put the lashes on the far corner so it would be a little more cartoon stylized and less crowded in the lower lashes. And then I just copied and pasted it, and you can see I actually had a bunch of trouble trying to make it one solid group because there were so many tiny pieces. It took me a while, but I finally was able to get it all together and copy and paste it over and just flip it to create my other eye. When copying and pasted on the eye, I slanted them a little bit just to give my character more of a fierce look. Then I made the nose smaller, and I fixed the highlight so it would be smaller as well to fit the nose. Adding more shading above the eye, I created almost like an eyebrow crease, or like what you would call your eyelid, just to give definition so the face doesn't look as flat. And I just copied and pasted it and placed it over to the other side as well. Moving on, I'm going to add blush behind the eyes just to give it more of a cartoon look, also on the nose. And in the next episode, I'm going to show you guys how I did the eyebrows and the hair, also some accessories, so stay tuned, and I hope you guys liked the video. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye!
Well, thank you for that, Cal. This is a beautiful image. I wanted to give you guys a little spoiler here and show you the complete image that Cal is making for us. It's just a lovely, fierce, red-haired beauty with a lot of something in the drawing here. So thank you, Cal, for adding those little bits of something to this project. This is just a lovely piece of drawing, and I learned a lot about drawing eyes in particular by watching what Cal did here. So this is a really lovely tutorial, and I'm probably going to be releasing this as a standalone project at some point because I like it so much. But let's wait till next week when she'll tell us the rest. She'll be making the glasses and the hair and the hair barrette and the ears and all the other parts. Oh, those lips look really nice too. Anyway, so just a lovely little drawing project, and I'm looking forward to showing that to you guys. Okay, we have a game review for you now from our friend Young, and it is a remake of one of my personal favorite PC games of all time, Portal. Oh my God, Portal was a huge thing for me. It came out in 2007. And my little boy, Jeffrey, who's in university right now, he was, I think, 3 years old when this film came out, when this game came out. And it was one of the first-person games that I could play with him sitting on my lap. We would spend a half hour or so every day playing a video game together, even when he was very, very little. But I didn't want to play violent stuff with him at this age. So here was the first-person shooter-style game that I could play with him that didn't have a character doing violence. It was just simply a character running around trying to solve logic puzzles and get out of a secret government laboratory that's being run by an insane evil AI. I guess this is part of what got me thinking about AI rebellions for my animated music video project. Anyway, what a fantastic game this was, and it has been adapted beautifully by a scratcher by the name of Alexandre Tallien. And he's a Canadian. I believe he's probably from Quebec. That's a French last name there and first name spelling there. So I imagine he's probably from neighboring Quebec here. And anyway, this is a lovely bit of scratch coding, and I'm going to let Young tell you the rest about it because he does a fantastic job doing that. So without further ado, here is Young's review of Portal Scratch Edition Part 2.
Today, we are playing a tribute to a classic puzzle-solving game. The goal is to escape the facility you are in by shooting teleportation portals and using walls and the floor to hop your way out of there using the weird physics of portals. This week's game is Portal Scratch Edition 2. This is a 2D adaptation of the iconic 2004 PC game Portal, made by Valve. This game has been very influential and has amassed a large fan base. You play as a human subject who is being experimented on by AI, who is trying to escape puzzle rooms that the AI puts you in using a teleportation gun that the AI gives you, where you shoot orange and blue portals, and when you go into either orange or blue, you come out the other color. This is an example of using low movement to go through a portal in the Portal game and in the Scratch adaptation. And this is how you use momentum to go through portals to create extra distance in the original Portal game and in Scratch as well. When Alex played the original Portal games, he was so fascinated by the portal mechanic, he decided to make his own version in Scratch. Alexander Varian is a Canadian scratcher who has been a part of the platform for 2 years and 5 months. They have created Portal 2 and Portal, both versions of Portal, and they've created a couple games in the past, but a lot of their previous work is animation. They have 3,840 followers, so I think that's a fair number. I think it is deserved. The animations are pretty good, and the games, as you will see shortly, are quite fun. This game is a very smooth Scratch game, unlike other games I reviewed in the past, such as Slugfest. The moment you click a button, it responds instantly with no delay, and you can even hold down the button to keep moving in a certain direction. This is key for a platformer type game such as Portal. The creator did a wonderful job of adding the physics of the original Portal game, as I mentioned earlier, and they created a similar game style to the original Portal games with the same type of puzzle, just, in 2D. Lastly, I want to point out, this is not the first Portal game Alex has made. This is their second Portal game. They are basically the same game, not very many differences. Portal 2 is just more levels, with a different story, and with an impossible mode. Overall, amazing game, extremely smooth. I do want to say, however, I think that outside of the gameplay, which was, I do not have much bad to say about the gameplay, I think they left out some key story elements from the original story, such as how you're being experimented on by insane AI. So I recommend looking up the story, or at least part of the story, to make the experience more immersive. If you are a fan of Alex and want to try out some of Alex's other games, look no further than Speedrun Platformer. This game, it takes a lot of patience and somewhat dedication to this game. This game is like not that easy to play out, but once you get the hang of it, it's pretty fun. Rock, Paper, Scissors Online is the second game that Alex has made. It is not very functional, I would say. It only works if you have someone else online with you that you know is going to be online, but there's not many players that play this. However, if you're looking for something in the animation field, Alex has plenty of these. They're very well animated, very simple designs, but simple does the trick most of the time. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you for that, Young. Well, this is a really high quality Scratch game. I have to tell you guys, I've played quite a bit of it already, and it very nicely duplicates the vibe of the original Scratch game. I love these menus here. Check the way that when I click on something here, the screen kind of turns sideways in this area here. A really nice effect. I just love this transition. It's really cool. And yeah, there's some, it's just really professional piece of work with lots of great little visual details. This background drawing here is a fantastic little bit of Scratch art as well, and you can see he's used, I believe, 1-point perspective to give this some depth, and there's even lighting effects here on this colored cube in the front with the flickering lights and stuff. Just real attention to detail. So bravo, Alex, for producing a really fantastic game here. The gameplay has difficulty levels in it, and there's cutscenes and a whole bunch of other really, really nice details here. I think there's a skip button. Yeah, there is. And as you can see, let me turn the volume down a little bit here. And as you can see, you've got a little portal gun here, and you can use it to shoot 2 colored portals. You can shoot E to shoot blue ones, and Q to shoot orange ones. And the idea is when you go through an orange portal, you fall out the blue portal and vice versa. And you can use that to navigate all over the map in some really creative ways. And what I love about it is this idea of momentum, that if I jump off this cliff and fall into a yellow portal, let me move a little bit ahead here, and jump into a yellow portal, I'll end up coming out of a blue portal. So let me try that right now. I'm going to try jumping into this thing, and you can see my momentum is preserved as I fall off here, and I come shooting out of this portal, and I can use that to leap huge chasms. Now that's exactly the idea that worked in the original Portal game, and I think it's beautifully implemented here. So do give this this game a look on Scratch. I just think it's the most wonderful Scratch project I've seen in a long time. I was just really excited to see that Young had picked this one for a review this week. Well, that is, I think, all the content I have. Welcome to Not Trash, who's just joined us in the chat, and to Dima, who's just joined us in the chat. Nice to see you, as always. Always nice to have viewers on here. Well, we are out of content for today. That was a chock-full episode, wasn't it? I've just been really happy with the content we've been putting out in the last little while, and I think we're really getting into a groove here. I just wish we had more viewers. If you like what you're seeing here, please do like and subscribe and share this. Just let other people know that this is happening. I don't think anyone else out there is doing a live stream related to Scratch and technology that's aimed at kids the way that the thing is. You guys know that I'm a school teacher, and I'm just in love with Scratch. And I think that every kid from around grade 8 through 12 or so, or from age 8 through about 12, should be getting into this stuff and doing some introductory coding. You can get into the C++, C# stuff, Python later, but right now this is a great way to learn coding and have a lot of fun making stories and games and all sorts of cool stuff. I'm running summer camps this summer, teaching coding and cool creative stuff to kids, and I'm very excited about that. So I'm dedicated to teaching you guys how to do this stuff, and I'd love to have a bigger audience for the material that I'm creating here. Remember, at 11 o'clock, or actually right now, we've just released part 1 of our Tetris tutorial, and I've also released a standalone tutorial on how to make a realistic looking fire on Scratch. So run over to my YouTube channel and have a look at that right now. In the meantime, thanks for joining me, everybody, and I will see